Okay, let's unpack this. Remember being asked, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Oh, yeah, that question.
And for most of us, the answer was always, about a job. Doctor, engineer, maybe a teacher.
Right. Finding that secure spot, earning a paycheck.
That traditional way of thinking, it usually puts us in, well, one or two specific places on a kind of financial map.
And that's exactly what the source material we're diving into today talks about, this idea of the cash flow quadrant.
Right, the quadrant.
It's like a diagram, a map, really.
Yeah.
Helps you understand not just what you do for money, but, well, where your money's actually coming from.
And the different paths people take.
Yeah.
Because they are really different.
Fundamentally different.
So we've looked at some really foundational writings on this. And our mission here in this deep dive is basically to navigate that map.
Understand the 4 quadrants, yeah.
Get the differences between them, and maybe most importantly, explore the sort of personal internal journey that's required, especially if you're thinking about moving towards the right side of that map.
The B and I side. Big business and investor.
Exactly. So it's really an invitation for you listening to think about your own place. Where are you on this landscape?
It's like getting a new pair of glasses, you know, to view your financial life. It looks simple, but the implications, they're huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's get into the map itself. What are the 4 points, the 4 quadrants?
Okay, first you've got E, that's for employee.
Right. Having a job.
Yep. Working for someone else, getting a salary, a wage. Your income comes from your work, trading your time.
Okay, E. Then there's F.
S is self-employed or, small business owner. These are the people who basically own their job.
Their own boss, doing their own thing.
Exactly. They want that independence. And look, if they work hard, they get paid well. But if they stop working...
The income often stops, too.
Right, because they are the system.
Okay, E and S on one side. What about the other side?
The right side. That's where you find B, for big business owner.
And this is different from S. How?
It's really different. A B owner owns the system, not just a job. The business makes money whether they're physically there day to day or not.
Ah, okay. They have people running the system for them.
They lead people and they own the system. That's the key.
Got it. And the last one, I?
I is for investor. This is where your money starts working for you.
So income from investments.
Yeah.
Assets.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Your money is making more money. That's the goal in the I quadrant.
So the source material really draws a big line between the left side and the right side.
Oh, absolutely. That's maybe the most critical distinction. E and S on the left, B and I on the right.
Left side, you're working for money, trading time.
Right. And on the right side, you have money or systems working for you.
Okay. And people can be in more than one, right?
Yeah.
And they can move.
Definitely. You can be in multiple quadrants, and you can absolutely choose to move. But that move, especially from left to right...
Sounds like it's more than just changing jobs.
Oh, it's way more. It's a fundamental internal shift. The sources spend a lot of time on this. The differences in mindset, in values.
Okay, let's talk about values. On the left side, E especially, it's all about security, isn't it?
Security is huge. Job security, benefits, maybe a pension. That's the core value for many E's.
And S, they value independence, but maybe security comes from their own hard work.
Yeah, their own skill, their own hustle. But on the right side, B and I, the values shift. It's more about...
Financial freedom.
Financial freedom, exactly. Building assets, building systems for the long haul.
And this is where the source material kind of takes aim at traditional schooling.
Yeah, it argues that school mostly prepares us for the E quadrant, maybe the S.
Not necessarily for finding your life's path or thriving as a B or an I.
Right. That whole financial education piece, understanding assets, liabilities, cash flow, it's just missing from most traditional education.
Which is pretty striking when you think about it.
It is. And the author uses his own story, Failing English, dropping out of an MBA program. School wasn't his path.
But he ended up successful as a teacher, writer, entrepreneur, investor.
Yeah, it shows that academic success isn't the only predictor, especially for the right side of the quadrant.
There's also that story about his friend, the highly educated professional in New York.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one. Felt trapped in his high-paying job, hated it, died young.
The source uses it as a kind of cautionary tale, right?
Yeah.
About maybe prioritizing that E-quadrant security over finding your path and getting financially literate.
It's a really stark contrast. And then you have his sister, the Buddhist nun.
Right. Living a completely different path.
Earns very little doing her work, technically in the S quadrant maybe, but she achieved financial security. How?
Through investing, the I quadrant. Rental property, gold, silver.
Exactly. Her life's calling didn't mean she had to be poor. She understood the I quadrant.
That really drives the point home. Your job title doesn't have to define your financial reality. But making that shift, the source says it's hard.
It's hard work, but not just like mentally hard.
How so?
It's the emotional and even the spiritual side that's often tougher. The source uses the analogy of diet and exercise.
Okay. You can know what you should eat or which exercises to do. That's
Yeah.
the mental part. But actually doing it consistently, making a real change.
That takes something else. Emotional commitment. Discipline.
Exactly. It requires tackling the underlying emotional stuff, the habits, the beliefs. Changing quadrants, especially moving right, is a journey of developing yourself emotionally and spiritually.
And what holds people back often seems to be fear.
Fear is huge. Fear of not having enough money. Fear of failing.
So they cling to the perceived security of an E or S job.
Right. Trying to avoid that fear. The source actually points to something like the Marine Corps. They don't just train you physically and mentally
That train you emotionally and spiritually too.
to face fear, to handle uncertainty. That kind of resilience, that holistic development, is what's needed for the B&I side, where things aren't always predictable.
Which ties into how people on the right side view failure, doesn't it? It's a completely different perspective.
It has to be. Think
Yeah.
about that Thomas Edison quote the source uses.
I didn't fail 1,014 times. I've successfully found out what did not work 1,014 times. It reframes failure completely.
Failure becomes learning.
Yeah.
Data collection.
Exactly. In school, you make a mistake, you get marked down, bad grade, punishment.
But in business or investing,
Mistakes are inevitable. They're tuition. They're how you learn, how you get better. You need the emotional strength to see setbacks that way, not as, proof that you're not cut out for it.
okay, so mindset and emotions are key. What's the next piece? The language.
Absolutely critical. You have to learn the language of money, especially for the right side. And the absolute foundation of that language is
Assets and liabilities.
you got it. You must know the difference. And the source keeps it super simple. An asset
Puts money in your pocket.
and a liability.
Takes money out of your pocket. End of story.
That's the core definition.
And this is where the source gets a bit controversial for some people, right? Saying your house is often a liability.
Yeah, that throws people. But think about it purely from a cash flow perspective. Even if you've paid off the mortgage, money is constantly going out. Taxes, insurance, repairs,
It's
utilities.
taking money out of your pocket every month.
Yeah,
So by that definition,
it's a liability. Now, it might appreciate in value. That's different. That's potential capital gains. But from cash flow, it costs you money. The source also points out, hey, your mortgage, that's an asset on the bank's books.
ouch. Right. And the source even breaks down the words like mortgage
Meaning death pledge or agreement until death.
and finance relating to a penalty or fine.
Yeah.
It really paints debt differently.
It does. It makes you ask, who is indebted to whom? If you owe money to lots of people or institutions,
You're poorer.
but if lots of people or assets owe money to you,
You're wealthier. The rich use debt, the source says, but differently.
totally differently. They might take on huge debt, but only if an asset like a rental property is paying that debt off for them. They keep their personal debt, the kind that just takes money out of their pocket, really small.
And the tax system, according to the source, it kind of pushes E&S folks towards more debt.
It often seems that way,
Yeah.
encouraging bigger houses for tax deductions, things like that, liabilities, but very few tax breaks for just saving money.
While the B&I quadrants get tax advantages.
Significant ones. The tax code, as the source explains it, was really set up to favor business and investment. B's and I's can generate income inside a corporation, for example. Pay expenses first, then get taxed on what's left.
Whereas an employee,
Gets taxed right off the top before you even see the money. The source calls it like being a 50-50 partner with the government from day one.
wow. Okay, so understanding that language assets, liabilities, debt, taxes, that's the bedrock,
It's the foundation you need before you can really start building effectively on the right side.
which brings us to the right side.
That's
Building in the B&I quadrants. Let's talk B first. Owning a system, not just a job.
right. Remember that story, Ed and Bill in the water?
The bucket carrier versus the pipeline builder.
Exactly. Ed hauls buckets, that's like an S. He works, he gets paid, he stops. The money stops. Bill builds a pipeline, that's the B.
The system.
He builds a system that delivers water, generates income, even when he's not physically hauling anything.
The McDonald's example fits here too, doesn't it?
Perfectly. The S might focus on making a better hamburger. Can I make the best burger in town?
But the B,
The B asks, Can I build a better business system for delivering hamburgers? It's about the system, not just the product itself. Be owners lead people and own systems.
And how do you become a B, according to the source?
Well, you could create your own system from scratch. Tough, but possible.
Or
You could buy a proven system, like a franchise. Less risky, often easier to get funding. Or you could join something like a network marketing organization.
which the source describes as buying into an existing system.
Yeah, becoming part of a pre-built system. The point is, a proven system reduces risk.
Okay, that's B. Now, I, investing. Money working for you seems crucial for real freedom.
It's often seen as the ultimate goal for long-term financial freedom, accumulating assets that just spin off cash, passive income.
And the source talks about a big shift here from the industrial age to the information age.
Right. Back then, maybe you had a defined benefit pension. Company took care of you after years of loyalty.
Now it's mostly defined contribution, like 401k.
Which means you are responsible. You need to learn how to invest yourself. The source even raises questions about whether things like Social Security or Medicare will be sustainable long-term. The responsibility is shifting to the individual.
So successful investors aren't just like gambling on stocks.
No, not the ones the source describes. They're focused on building income streams, cash flow from their investments.
Like the Monopoly game analogy.
Exactly. 4 greenhouses, then 1 red hotel. Each greenhouse adds cash flow. The hotel adds even more. It's about acquiring assets that pay you.
Plus the tax advantages we talked about, earning in the asset column.
Huge advantage.
And interestingly, the source suggests getting good at B first can help you be a better I.
Yeah, there's a logic there. A successful B quadrant business can generate the cash flow you need to invest seriously.
Plus the business skills.
Understanding markets, management, finances, systems. All that knowledge from running a business is incredibly valuable when you're evaluating potential investments in other businesses or assets.
Okay, so building on the right side.
Mm.
It sounds like it involves risk, but the source says it's not about avoiding risk.
No, not at all. The source is really clear. Business and investing aren't inherently risky. Being uneducated is what's risky.
Ah, okay. So it's about learning to manage risk, not run away from it.
Precisely. That's a massive mindset shift from the E quadrant, where the goal is often to eliminate financial risk entirely through job security.
Right. The source even mentions Warren Buffett on diversification.
Yeah, saying diversification is basically a strategy for not losing, which is fine for many. But concentration, focusing your investments where you have deep knowledge,
Requires more work, more understanding.
but can actually decrease your real risk if you know what you're doing. And true investors, the source says, they don't fear market volatility.
They welcome it.
They see it as opportunity, a chance to buy good assets when they're on sale because others are panicking.
The source also mentions different kinds of investors, like that type C, the I'm too busy investor.
Right. The person who just hands their money over to an expert and hopes for the best.
What's the issue there? You need advisors, right?
You absolutely need good advisors. But the source's point is, if you are financially illiterate, your advisors are hampered.
How so?
Legally and practically, they can often only recommend very conservative, low-risk, low-yield strategies, diversified mutual funds maybe, because if they recommend something more sophisticated and you don't understand it and it goes wrong.
They could be liable.
Exactly. So your lack of education limits their ability to help you with potentially better strategies.
So the advisor can only be as sophisticated as you allow them to be based on your own understanding.
That's the gist. You need to get educated first. Then you can find advisors who match your level of understanding and goals, and you can actually understand their advice and make informed decisions.
It reminds me of that Buffett quote the source used about asking your insurance salesman if you need insurance.
Ha! Yeah, exactly. You need your own financial intelligence to evaluate advice, which means training your mind.
To see what others don't see. Like Rich Dad said,
It's not what your eyes see, it's what you can't see that's important.
the deals, the agreements, the market trends, the management team, the tax implications.
All that unseen stuff, the 95% that isn't obvious on the surface, financial intelligence is about learning to see that.
Which brings us right back around to the internal game. This isn't just spreadsheets and strategies.
Not at all. It's deeply emotional. Money brings up powerful emotions.
Fear and greed, mainly.
Those are the big ones.
Yeah.
And the force argues that your financial IQ is massively influenced by your emotional IQ, your EQ.
It quotes Erasmus, saying the emotional brain is way stronger than the rational one.
Something like 24 times more powerful. which explains why we sometimes make completely illogical financial choices based on feelings.
Like buying a car based on the easy monthly payment, not the total cost or whether you actually need it.
Exactly. Emotion overrides logic.
And those emotions fuel limiting thoughts too, right? The things we tell ourselves.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just not good with money. Investing is too risky for me. You need money to make money. I'm not smart enough for business.
The source has that line, all words are mirrors.
For they reflect back some insight as to what people think about themselves. It's a powerful idea, your personal truths about money.
Might actually be personal lies driven by fear, holding you back.
Right, and the source challenges you to look at excuses. Like if you say, I can't start a business because my spouse won't support it.
The divorce suggests maybe that's a reflection of your own fear, or maybe your inability to communicate effectively about it.
Exactly. It's not necessarily about blaming the spouse. It's about looking inward. What's the real block? You have to listen to the doubts, sure, but then dig deeper. Find the root.
And the antidote to that fear is passion.
That's what Rich Dad told the author. When fear starts creeping in, you gotta fan the flames of your passion. Your fear has pushed aside your passion. Keep the flame in your heart alive.
Passion builds businesses, fear paralyzes.
That's the idea. Passion gives you the fuel to push through the inevitable obstacles and fears.
And who you hang out with, that affects your passion, your mindset.
Massively. The source is blunt. Who you spend your time with is your future.
Wow, that's a challenge.
It really is. It suggests you literally write down the 6 people you spend the most time with.
And think about their values, their conversations, how they think about money and risk.
Yeah. How are they influencing you? Your thoughts, your ambitions, your fears.
And the tough part, maybe changing your future means changing some of those associations.
It might. Even if they're great friends, if they're stuck in a mindset that pulls you away from the path you want to be on, the source suggests you might need to consciously adjust who influences you most.
That's a hard truth.
It is. But the source frames it as essential for growth, especially towards the right side.
Okay, wow. So we've covered a lot. The map, the mindsets, the language, the B&I skills, risk, the crucial internal game. Where does someone actually start? How do you take the first step?
The key message is, start small. Take baby steps.
Not a giant leap.
No. Don't try to change everything overnight. Financial success, the source argues, isn't about the size of your strides. It's about the number of steps you take consistently in the right direction.
And learning comes from doing.
Yeah.
And messing up sometimes.
Absolutely. Get out of analysis paralysis, where you study and study but never actually do anything because you're afraid to make a mistake.
Which the source says happens a lot with highly educated people because school punished mistakes.
Right. But think about learning to walk or ride a bike. You fell down. That's how you learned. Financial learning is similar. It involves doing, making mistakes, adjusting. It's mental, emotional, and physical learning.
Okay, so what are some concrete baby steps the source suggests?
First, get clear on your goals. Define them. What's your 5-year goal for passive income from assets? What's your 1-year goal for maybe cutting debt or increasing cash flow? Write it down.
Make sense? What else?
Second, get control of your cash flow. You have to know where your money is going now. Track your spending. Identify the leaks, the liabilities, the bad debt.
And then attack the debt.
Yeah, the source gives a specific strategy for that. Find, say, an extra $150 or $200 a month. Pick one credit card, pay the minimum plus that extra amount once it's paid off.
Snowball it.
Yeah.
Take that whole payment amount and add it to the minimum on the next card.
Exactly. Keep snowballing it. It builds momentum.
Okay, goals, cash flow, debt reduction. Third,
Education. Commit time to it. Schedule it like an appointment, maybe 5 hours a week.
doing what?
Reading financial news, websites, books, listening to podcasts like this one, hopefully, playing the Cashflow game, maybe attending a seminar. The author tells that story about making millions from what he learned in just one $385 real estate course.
Because he actually applied it.
That's the key. He took action.
Okay, fourth step.
Seek out mentors. Find people who have already done what you want to do, role models.
And maybe reverse role models, too. People who show you what not to do.
Yeah, learn from both. Find people who've successfully walked the path you're interested in. Ask them questions. Learn from their experience.
And the fifth step sounds like just do something.
Pretty much.
Hey,
Take action. Any action, even small. Make lowball offers on tiny investment properties just to learn the process. Join a network marketing company to practice sales and learn about systems. Invest a very small amount of money in something just to get skin in the game so you're forced to pay attention and learn.
The source really echoes that famous slogan, doesn't it?
Just do it. Get started.
And the cash flow game comes up again here as a tool for this kind of learning.
Yeah, it's specifically recommended as a way to practice, to train your mind, your emotions, your reactions to financial situations, buying assets, managing cash flow, dealing with liabilities, but in a safe, simulated environment.
Like that guy who called it his financial wake-up call.
Exactly. Playing the game helped him fundamentally shift his thinking and his real-world financial habits. It's a practice field.
So the source is clear. The road to faster financial freedom, the fast track, runs through the B&I quadrants.
That's the argument. Building systems, building cash-flowing assets. That's the path. And interestingly, the source suggests that once you're established on the right side, it can actually feel more secure than relying on a single paycheck from one employer.
Because you have multiple streams of income, more control.
You're shifting from working for money to having money and systems work for you.
Okay. So wrapping up, we've gone through the quadrants, the mindsets, the language assets and liabilities being key, building B&I, managing risk, the huge role of advisors in your own education, the critical internal emotional game, and finally those practical baby steps to just get started.
It's a whole framework, a map, like we said. And it's definitely a challenging journey the source outlines, but the message is that it's achievable. With the right education, the right mindset shifts, and crucially, consistent action.
The source material lays out this map, this potential path. But ultimately, it's up to each of us, isn't it? The choice of which path to walk, or even which quadrant to aim for, is yours. So maybe the question for you listening is, where are you on this map right now? And where do you truly want to go?
And maybe one final thought to leave you with, building on the source. As the economy keeps changing, shifting from that old industrial age model to this new information age, the source talks about these huge transfers of wealth that happen during times of change. So the question is, as these shifts continue, will you be equipped to manage your money with your mind, seeing the unseen opportunities and risks? Or